Yo ho ho! What's going on, guys? This is Grim Reaper bringing you that next session. On this one here, we're talking about high demons. We talk about high dragons, both hero wise and dragon wise, monster wise. Mysterious being wise, quote unquote. Now we're gonna focus on the demons. Now, there's a lot of speculation on some monsters, whether they're demons or not. Some monsters became dragons after they were declared as demons. So I'm gonna be focusing on a certain amount that I believe have shown traits that actually are standard, at least, of what a high demon would be to me, or what I would normally recognize as a high demon. That being said, before we get started, make sure you check out our Patreon and our Discord. The links are both below in the description. On our Patreon, you can support us with several different tiers that receive several different perks and privileges along the way. We're going to be having also a Q&A video session every Monday. I believe that's how I've scheduled it. So if you want to hop on there, just $2 and you'll hop into the video. And the Discord is where we talk about everything, including this video's topic of today in there. And for the people text channel, so if you guys want to support, if you guys want to join, if you guys want to be part of the family, that's where you go. With that being said, allow me to send this link out real fast, and then we'll get it started. All right, real fast. There we go. Okay. And there it is. Alright. Alright, let's get started then. So up first on the list of greatness, on the strongest of the demons that I don't see what you're gonna encounter because some of them are dead, but some tough guys to beat. First, let's talk about Beast King early off in the story. Now, Beast King didn't get one of the greater presentations or like one of the longer full fights. Royal Ripper got a full fight, kinda technically. Bug got a full fight, kinda technically. G5 got a full fight, kinda technically. Not to say that they're gonna be on the list definitively, but if they were to be on the list, then those would be examples of individuals who got more screen time than Beast King. But with Beast King's screen time, he did show tremendous strength, and his claws were really destructive. They were able to slice through several buildings with individual slices. That going up against regular monsters, that isn't like normal. Because remember, Neon in the Gearspur confrontation, not Gearspur, the Drive Knight confrontation, Neon's buffed up Phelan Retribution actually cut a few buildings. They were bigger, maybe you say a few stories taller, but they weren't completely dwarfing the buildings that Beast King was destroying in the pursuit of Saitama. I don't know very many other demons who would have the destructiveness to do that, to be able to destroy an entire building in one flurry of an attack. It doesn't seem very characteristic of G5, for example, but that doesn't mean that G5 isn't pretty tough. We could argue that Pureblood, for example, also doesn't have that same capability, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't have those same skills to fight other high demons. So that's why I want to give credit to Beast King, because his offensive prowess, at least, and maybe his defensive durability are pretty considerable. It's just he was encountering Saitama. That may be the reason why. Next, I'd like to talk about Bug God. Now, in the same breath as we just spoke about Beast King, this guy is a tough, big, buff, strong individual. Now, Bug God is hyped up not only by the webcomic community, but by actual readers as well, manga readers as well, for his presentation up against Garo. In the fight that Garo had with Royal Ripper and Bug God together, Garo delivered a pretty strong, straightforward punch right to Bug God's chest, and he tanked it without much effect whatsoever. Garo is an individual who, even at that point, wouldn't be able to just not harm most fighters. Most fighters would have to consider if Garo gave them a direct hit where they weren't defending themselves. Garo was pretty considerably strong. So to have him do that shot up his clout tremendously. Royal Ripper had some other feats along the way, but that he really showed out more so than Royal Ripper in the fight. At least that's what I've been told in other people's opinions, and I also feel that way. So after that base level of clout that the character already had, we get, I believe it was the 106, chapter 106 was when Darkshine actually showed up to confront Bug God. the hype there, I don't want to say for me personally, it sealed off because I knew he wasn't going to defeat Darkshine, but I knew that he had to have some kind of feat in order to make Darkshine's win impressive. He has to put up something somewhat considerable, and he already did up against Goro. So there was supposed to be some good context to Bud God, but unfortunately, all he did was just grow bigger and more arms, and it seemed like he threw more consecutive attacks quicker. That was about it. Now that could have been pretty destructive. We could even talk about Bakuzan being as destructive as Bud God at that point or time period. I think Bakuzan was probably stronger, but it would have been. I don't think it would have been far fetched to talk about that. To talk about Bud God and Bakuzan being in the same category in that amplified form. I don't know if you want to consider him a low dragon when he boosts up because he did get one shotted, just straight one shotted. I wouldn't consider. I don't think. I'm not sure if Bakuzan would just get one shotted by Dark something like that. I'm not sure if that like. Dang, bro. Damn. I'm not sure if like people have a really bad opinion about Bakuzan, him being like arguably like the lowest standard of a dragon, but he's still a dragon. And I'm not sure that there are very many dragons that like you can just one shot. That Darkshine would just one shot. Though it may be possible. Either way, Bug God's capability to like not only maintain a strong presence in a fight, but his strong defense, his ability to grow to a stronger power level. These are characteristics of monsters that are like edging to that dragon point. So I think it's pretty easy to give Bug God the high demon category. Next, let's talk about Awakened Cockroach. Now, Awakened Cockroach has a different trait and category than Bug God and Beast King. Now, if you guys have been watching the dragon version of this video and the dragon hero version of this video, you know that I've been talking about the different traits and categories that monsters or characters in general have and make them great. Whether it's speed, attack power, strength, destructiveness, agility, endurance, stamina, whatever it may be. They usually have something that makes them outstanding the higher the rankings go, demon and dragon. Now we're at that midpoint of demon. These characters still have pretty impressive things, so even some traits that are more impressive than other dragons. It just depends on what the monster has to be. Awakened Cockroach is one of these creatures. His agility, and maybe you could even say his straight line speed, is incredible. I don't want to say it challenges Flashy Flash or the ninjas per se in their dragon forms, but in their demon forms, Awakened Cockroach can compete with almost any demon we've seen so far, and a lot of the dragons we've seen so far. Now, this isn't to say that offensively he can punch or take out a dragon, or he's going to like punch and send G5 flying. That's not what we're saying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, for example, maybe Beast King would have a tough time like actually hitting Awakened Cockroach if he came after him like that. Or maybe Bug God would end up having to tank a lot more attacks than he delivered to Awakened Cockroach in order to win the fight, if he is going to win the fight, if that were to be a scenario that you guys thought. We could do a versus match like that later on if you guys want that. Hop in the comment section to tell me. But Awakened Cockroach's like confidence, his battle prowess, like his intelligence. He was speaking pretty competently to Genos and making fun of him and taunting him, trolling or whatever. But like he was dodging all this stuff at the last second, like with like swift cut angles, like redirecting attacks, like making counterattacks as soon as Genos' attacks went out. And Genos isn't like some like chump. Like he may have like questionable like strength, or he may lose often in really, really tough scenarios, but most of the time Genos is in the fight and he puts in tough effort and he's not a slump. Even Goro himself mentioned that Genos can fight. Like Genos can fight even up against his martial arts. Genos can fight. So to have Awakened Cockroach be humiliating Genos hand-to-hand wise with his cannons and his blasters, he forces Genos to use an unconventional tactic of slowing down for real. Excuse me. Awakened Cockroach's speed. Sorry about that. I had to take the thing. Okay, we're good. All right. Make sure the audio's good. All right. He had to use the unconventional tactic of using slime to slow down Awakened Cockroach's movements, and then be able to position him to basically get to sacrifice his legs in order to escape. That tells us something about the durability of his of his body. He was most likely gonna die from that point blank blast like that from Genos. But if anything, that's a testament to like just how tenacious he is to stay alive. Like he's willing to sacrifice his limbs. He did it in a split second. Detached his limbs and ran off in a split second. All the other demons, excuse me, let me not say that. A lot of the other demons that I have in this list would have a tough time facing Awakened Cockroach. And if they do beat Awakened Cockroach, it's not happening within like the first 30 minutes. This guy's tough. Next we have, as aforementioned, G5. Now G5 is one of the more likable, favorable, popular demons that's going to be on this list. A lot of individuals were really, really hyped up when he came into the story. Me and myself included. The samurai design was what sparked my attention, and a lot of the other people in the community. I guess I'm not sure if he was in the webcomic or not, but they had. Oh yeah, I don't think he was in the webcomic, but a lot of people like fell in love with his character immediately. Zonin like sparked up a theory because of his design and his and correlated it with the organization. Drive Knight's design, G4's design. Obviously, he's a namesake of G4 as well, and being the G5. So there's obvious connections there, and a bunch of different interests and clout sparked up for G5 immediately, even before he even got a true presentation of his power. When he did fight, it was so badass, cool, and amazing. Up against Child Emperor's first display coming out, technically with his first demon encounter, because all the heroes are having, they're going to fight a demon versus then a dragon. Child Emperor not only fought 2 demons in a row, but fought 2 dragons in a row. So here comes the first of the demons before Phoenix Man in G5. And not only do his initial like autonomous like drone cannon, I forgot what it was called, I think it's like the Octobot or something like that. Not only does that fail to stop G5, but then he uses other conventional weapons like a little cage that's supposed to like turn off like electronics and cybernetics and shit like that. Didn't work, completely cut right through it. He brought out a dog that actually like once it like transformed, united together. I think Munata included that in a redraw. That's what ended up holding off. It's still lost indefinitely, as we saw. G5, and it looks like G5 wasn't even like that badly injured when he came out and fought Atomic Samurai. So he can compete with just like pretty much most things that can like come out against him. I think he can compete with it. Like, I don't want to say he can overwhelm Awakened Cockroach, but let me before I name out who he could probably compete with, let's talk about some more of the accolades that he brought out. His main like, I guess, form of attack is the best way to put it, is his swordsmanship. In his next encounter, he walked up to Atomic Samurai. Now, to his dismay, Atomic Samurai isn't like a weak swordsman, or isn't even like an amazing swordsman. He's like the best swordsman. So, G5, using the techniques, or the tech that he used up against Atomic Samurai, up against another samurai, it may be a tough fight. Let's really think about like what happened. So he said that he was not only, just by watching him, able to copy the technique, but he's going to improve upon it and use his superior like limbs and speed to make the technique stronger. G5 technically, his fighting style is a superior version to what he observed from Atomic Samurai. And that doesn't mean that it's actually that, as Atomic Samurai mentioned, that he's mentioned the fun factor, for example. But that's pretty lethal. Like, not only does he have that now, like in store, to where he can use that up against you, if you were to like see that and then not confront Atomic Samurai and then leave, right? Then he encountered you. He could use that improved technique with more speed, quote unquote, to defeat you. Because the other character is not going to be as strong as Atomic Samurai, obviously, or it's not going to have the same capabilities as Atomic Samurai. It's going to be an advantage, and then he could do the same thing to you. Imagine him like copying your techniques after he just copied Atomics and improved upon them, and now he's improving upon your techniques and mixing them. It's going to be like, and that's if you're a swordsman. That's if you're a swordsman. We see how hard it is for a lot of like other creatures. Maybe not monsters necessarily, because Muzzleguard is a different instance, but it's pretty tough for like dragons and demons to like fight Atomic. You have to have some special trait or some really good defense and offense to deal with him like that. Like Elder Centipede, Atomic probably can't pierce through his like his carapace without a focused Atomic Slash, and then even then it might not be that like He pretty much loses to Elder Centipede. Black Spermie's having an amazingly tough time up against. Like, you have to have special things to deal with Atomic Samurai to an extreme. And to have a guy who's copying that, G5 is pretty powerful. Imagine, like, gosh, bro. Imagine, like, Super Mouse or, like, who else could we bring up? Like, a pretty cool demon. Gorgonite. I don't know. There's a bunch of different, like, demons and maybe some dragons that would have a tough time beating G5. Not to mention that he does have an interior pilot with some pretty tough armor. Atomic Samurai's first Atomic Slash didn't pierce through it. Granted, it was because of an initial effort, so it's not like he couldn't have done a second Atomic Slash and actually cut through it. But that's what we saw. So we know it's pretty tough. And they took Genos's a variation of his jet drive arrow, or an amplified version of his jet drive arrow that we saw him use against Elder Centipede. He used that to actually bust through G5 and like dent his armor in and make him implode. So G5 is pretty tough. Not to mention his like laser as like a last resort attack that he used against Atomic. There's no reason why he couldn't do it all the time. It probably came from his eye too. G5 is a really, really strong demon. He's for sure a high demon. Next I want to talk about and highlight 100 Eyes Octopus. Now, this guy is a demon primarily because of his gargantuan size. There are even S-class, dragon level S-class, that can't defeat him in single attacks, single sweeps. So let's just put that out there. That 100 Eyes is strong enough to be able to tank multiple attacks from an S-class, a high dragon S-class. Let's put it like that. Flashy Flash in the previous video that we declared is a high dragon in terms of the evaluation, and 100 Eyes was able to tank several of his attacks. And he was prepared to take his one of his ultimate attacks as well, which I believe he would have absorbed, survived. But that's neither here nor there. Tatsumaki managed to defeat 100 Eyes. So with that being the case, 100 Eyes is also like secondary ability that was mentioned is that the more rubble and buildings that he manages to eat, the larger in size that he'll become. And we saw that whenever he was hanging on to one of the buildings or whatever, he's tough, he's strong. His tentacles have grip strength. When they slam down, they're doing destruction. He has a lot of force, not crazy speed, but he can move them around, and he can be destructive and like chaotic. Like 100 Eyes is a good monster to drop in the middle of a city if you want to like invade and fuck shit up. Have the enemy have to focus on attacking that, and then you do your business, attack the capital or whatever. Do what you got to do, but like that's a great idea and a great like strategy that Guro implemented in having 100 Eyes, and even though the Centipede come into the city and cause havoc like that, it drew attention and required assistance because that's people we need to protect. Now, let's be specific now. The encounter with Flashy Flash entailed Flashy Flash attempting to take out his eyes, trying to blind him. Now, I don't know why that would be necessarily like prominent, because I guess besides like to just cause him pain, there would be no real reason to blind 100 Eyes in the case of Flashy Flash. It's not like 100 Eyes would be able to like actually hit him once he spotted him. Like, we saw the confrontation. We know that they were looking at each other. We know that like they were there. Like, but Flashy Flash shouldn't be a character that would be worried about like being hit by such a gargantuan, slow, like clumsy monster like that. I don't know why his focus would be to blind him. That would be like a creature that like could cause a really big potential threat, maybe to you. Maybe like strategically, like its eyesight is so advantageous to it that like you have to remove that in order to fight it effectively. That would be it. But like, there's nothing that really made its eyes like that important. So that's why like, to me, I still downplay the fact that like he managed to like cut all its eyes, but he didn't like pierce through the tentacles on accident. You would assume that a guy as strong as Flash Flash would be able to like cut through the tentacles on accident. Well, Atomic Samurai probably would, but like he didn't. So that's why like we have to say and declare that he did tank that. Even Red Muffler mentioned that, you're just making him writhe around more. You didn't really do much. So in terms of that evaluation, we have to say that 100 Eyes did pretty well with taking Flash Flash's attack. Now, we obviously know that Flash Flash had the strong potential, high probability of killing 100 Eyes with the next attack with the Flashy Slash. But, like we said, it's already tough enough that he gets stronger and larger the more that he eats. The more he's sitting in the environment that he's in, the more he just gobbles down as you're like fighting him or failing to do enough damage to him. He just gets stronger and bigger. And then it'll really be tough to cut through his tentacles. If there are certain size or distance, we haven't seen Atomic Samurai do We haven't seen him cut a building yet. So like maybe his air slashes could, but that's speculation. The bigger 100 Eyes gets, the closer he gets to becoming a dragon. We won't be able to not consider 100 Eyes a dragon if he continues to eat the majority of a city. So that's why I like to put 100 Eyes in the High Dragon category, because he tanked multiple attacks from a High Dragon. Next is Pureblood. Now, Pureblood is a monster that I hype about a lot. Not only because I love chapter 101, and like I love vampires and I love the feel of like the whole zombie man fight, and like, it was all cool and badass. But like, he put in work, bro. He put in work. Now, before we actually talk about that, I want to give credit to Murata for drawing an amazing fight. Like, it really looked badass. Like the cultish, I guess you want to call it like that. It felt like Blade-ish type aesthetic. Like it just flowed so well. I loved it. And then to have Zombie Man pull out his blade and stuff like that too. Beerbutt have a little like instinction blade as well with his like cloak. Like it was so good. Like I love that fight. Beerbutt's design was amazing. I'm really, really sad that he's gone from the series. But in his fight, he showed some pretty badass tactics. Catching bullets, some the stronger of the bullets. We saw the variant where he upgraded the strength of his firepower or whatever. Zombie Man. Upgraded bullets, just catching them, send them right back at him. Throwing bullets too enough to pop another human's head off, like explode his Zombie Man's head, pop his brains right the back of his head and his eye right off. Like, amazing. The ability to regenerate when eating things. It doesn't have to be, it never said it had to be monsters. It could be humans. So, you throw blood pure blood in the city, God, he's sitting there fighting the police shoot him up or whatever, right? You know, because he's sitting there dodging and eating a bunch of police officers, and the police shoot him up or whatever. And he's sitting there like, oh shit. Grabs the little girl down the street, rips her in half, starts eating her blood of that shooting at her. And then he just, and then he speed blitzes some more cops. Starts ripping their head off and eating them as he's like going down, destroying the city. Pureblood could realistically take down an entire city block. Like a long city block just sitting there eating people. We see what happened with those terrorist attacks all over either in schools, people driving in on sidewalks, running people over in France and stuff like that in Europe. All kinds of like crazy atrocities. Imagine that with a vampire. Imagine a vampire like out there like on those like I forget what it is. It's like those strips where like there's like at least 30 stores on each side of the single road or whatever, and the road is really small. It's those brick roads, those types of downtown areas where it's just the shopping centers. Just that feels like Christmas lights and trees, all beautiful, and you just see vampires like running down with like hundreds of people just sitting there attacking the mall. That would be incredibly destructive, incredibly dangerous. Pureblood can do that just as long as there's people around. I don't want to say it gives him like. Let me not go to that point. Let's just say his regenerative capability is really advantageous. It's really advantageous. Like, yes, he has to have those things there, but he could theoretically deal with most problems. We know he can do a limb for sure because he like completely regenerated his midsection. So it's probably even stronger than a Super Mouse's. And Superman's regeneration was pretty tough as well. Blademanship, as I mentioned before, he pulled out, I think it was like the collar or the I forgot what this is called, but the portion of your the shirt, a little form of the shirt, popped out to a blade and was able to actually clash with Zombie Man's. Sure, he got outmaneuvered pretty quickly, but then he showed his tremendous speed and acrobatics by being able to like dodge mid slice. After being outmaneuvered, dodge, hop him in the air mid slice, and deliver a kick. Get shot up in the air and just like Pureblood's maneuverability, his fighting style was not only like so appealing and like just badass to look at, but it was effective. Like he was able to deal with Zombie Man. We were told that in a 30-minute time span, he beat Zombie Man 200 times. That's not a throwaway number. I know people just like threw it away because it was a quick flash or whatever. It was off screen and we just got to the end of the fight. We wanted to see the point. No, pay attention to that. We saw how many times Zombie Man technically died in front of us. I'll count that 200 more times in that same manner. How is that not like literally a dragon? That's a dragon. It doesn't matter like what you want to claim about Zombie Man. Oh, his offensive powers isn't this and that. Oh, he can't really do this and that. Zombie Man was able to take down Carnage Kabuto. It's Zombie Man's endurance. It's his endurance that makes him so like. It's what makes him an S-class. It doesn't matter if you can punch more than him, that you're faster than him, that you're smarter than him. He's just going to get back. That's every single time. He's going to stand right back up and come after you just as hard. And he doesn't need ammo. He has other types of weapons. He's just going to keep coming after you. 200 times. 200 times. In 30 minutes. Amazing job. Pureblood is a high demon for sure. Next on the list is Evil Eye. Now, Evil Eye there's a question as to whether we should consider Evil Eye a dragon or not. We don't really get a true disaster level declaration. All we know is that Giro entrusted him with the initial confrontation of the entire hero assault. Now, it was mentioned that she was out there to scout the numbers and scout the forces, but it's not as if these monsters couldn't have done considerable damage or couldn't have left a dent in the hero's forces. That's somewhat technically what their job was for. He encountered the strongest of them, Tatsumaki. After he displayed his flex, trapping the heroes by lifting buildings and trains and slamming them back on the backside, in the front, lifting entire skyscrapers. Those were like literally like 15 to 20 story buildings, lifting them up in the air and throwing them down. Like, that's not like jokish shit. And he wasn't like trying that hard. That wasn't his full power either. There's a strong conversation. There's a strong argument to be made to say that Evil Eye is a dragon. And arguably not even a low dragon, a mid dragon. As we talked about several times in the previous videos, psychic powers are a category in One Punch Man as more advantageous than the rest. It has a larger area of effect, of competence, of range, quote unquote, than most other powers. You can do a lot more of psychic powers than you can do with a lot of physical strength. That's just how it is. We could talk about some different situations. We could talk about some different scenarios where maybe a speedster is able to like fly around a building and like get behind or get to a point where Evil Eye isn't looking for a second and then like flashy slash him and take him out. We could talk about Evil Eye dodging and getting close enough to the ground to where Tamai Samurai is able to like FAS him and actually get him. We could talk about, I don't know, Drive Knight using some like chemical to like, I don't know, poison him while he's not realizing or looking. We could talk about some unconventional, out of the world tactic to like try and isolate some weakness that Evil Eye has. But in all those instances, we're ignoring his psychic capability to affect us, to push that smoke away, to throw Atomic Samurai's foot off balance as he's doing the slash, so he trips or it goes down or whatever, to make the building shake as Flashy Slash is jumping for that final Flashy Slash, so he jumps to a different direction instead of to where Evil Eye is. Like, there's no easy way to fight a competent psychic user, especially if they're completely aware that you're their enemy. If you're directly in front of them, it's pretty tough to fight a lot of psychic users, especially if they're capable like Evil Eye is. Evil Eye is arguably a dragon. And he probably has the strongest argument to be a dragon out of anybody on this list or any of the demons that you could consider or conjure up on your own. Finally, before the end of the video off, let's talk about Super Mouse. Let me make sure that we got everything's good. Alright, what's going on, guys? Soup, Haji. What's going on, Yongjing Cheng? Or Yi Hong Cheng. What's good, bro? Welcome to the stream and shit. What's going on during my Rochi? What's going on, bros? Ningen. Alright. So let's close it off with Super Mouse. Well, actually, I didn't see that. There's one more besides Super Mouse. Super Mouse as a high dragon. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to question this, and this is probably going to be one of the points to address in the Discord after the stream. People are going to mention this as to why I said this. So if you guys want to talk about Super Mouse, if you guys want to defend Super Mouse with me, or attack my choice of Super Mouse, hop in the comment section below, or come into the Discord where the link is. So we can talk about Royal Ripper and Bug God, right? And hype up Bug God for taking a direct hit from Goro and not flinching at all, just punching him, sending him flying into electrical lines or whatever. But that was then at that point, that time period. They injured him and he got back up as a dragon. That's what we saw. Not only did Goro even say it, but it was clear from what he did immediately after the confrontation with Super Mouse. The Goro that fought a Super Mouse was a dragon. Not only did he manhandle Showerhead, Unihorn, and Super Mouse in an encounter in which they all did great. Coincidentally, Super Mouse and Showerhead took a direct hit punch to the face from a dragon. He was bodying Bug God and Royal Ripper. So you're telling me that Super Mouse fights a stronger version of Goro and doesn't get completely bodied. But you go on the other side, Goro is literally winning, preparing to win the fight up against him. And we go to that? Remember, it was the slime that came up and tried to steal Tadio that took the attention away from Goro fighting Bug God and Royal Ripper. Goro said in the fight that he had a hang of this, that he could win, that he could do it. He could fight both of them. Those strong demons, Goro said that he could beat them. And he was confident, and we saw how he was doing. We saw how he was outmaneuvering them and dealing with their attacks. He did the same to the Super Mouse group. He dealt with them. He did. But not as well as they dealt with his attack. The water stream. Super Mouse came with that punch, and out of nowhere followed up. Goro came with that water, with the whirlwind, excuse me, not the water stream, the whirlwind. Cut off his arm, part of his leg, and his arm or whatever like that, and it healed up in a panel's time. Ready, prepared to go again. He was even able to pick up Unihorn and throw him so hard and quickly that Goro had to use his intuition, his skill, his agility, his awareness, his psyche, his spidey sense, whatever you want to call it, to deflect Unihorn. And it was still going strong, fast, quick, hard, however you want to describe it, enough to hurt Rover. To get Rover's attention, to bother Rover, to get him to the point where he's going to attack immediately, to get him mad. He started the rampage. That's what happened. We could talk about, he can't fly. We could talk about he doesn't have psychic powers. We could talk about he doesn't have super speed. He doesn't have super strength. He doesn't have super intelligence. He doesn't have super regeneration. That's endurance. We could talk about that, a lot of Super Mouse's power, or like, a lot of his hype came from the fact that he was fighting in that group. And that group seemed pretty, like, synergistic. But so did Royal Ripper and Bug God. That's really all it was. Royal Ripper isn't any more impressive than, like, fucking anybody else. We saw what Goro did to Royal Ripper immediately after the confrontation. And in that fight, he was still handling him pretty easily. And Bug God, so? Goro has overcome those things before. It's not like he wouldn't have been able to, like, somehow get through his armor or bash him down or, like, at least send him flying to the point where Bug God would be incapacitated. Maybe not kill him, but, like, I have no doubt that in that fight, Goro could have beat Bug God and Royal Ripper. And alone, he could have beat them as well. Super Mouse regeneration is pretty freaking badass. I talked about earlier how Pure Blood's ability to, like, rip monsters or whatever being it is in half and eat their blood or eat their flesh or whatever to regenerate and then almost completely regenerate it just entirely. Super Mouse doesn't have to have a source. And he regenerates maybe not as well as Pure Blood's, but very, very effectively. He could use all of his limbs and he wasn't crying out or writhing in pain and it wasn't debilitating anymore. We have to talk about some of these demons, sure, being able to beat Super Mouse. We could talk about Super Mouse probably being the weakest one on this list of the high dragons, but we can't talk about a lot of other, the high demons. But we can't talk about a lot of other demons being able to beat Super Mouse. And if they do, it won't be easy. We could say that G5 could probably beat Super Mouse pretty easily. I'll give you that. 100 Eyes for sure. Beast King, sure. Evil Eyes, sure. Yeah, most of the guys could do it. But he's got it. Now the final choice, the final selection is Chose. Chose got his presentation up against Suiryu during the Super Fight Tournament. I believe this is what it's called. Now, he had some, like, I'm not sure if it was like neo-Nazi or whatever feel it was to it, but, like, he was on some, like, superior ultimate race type stuff, like the supreme being type, like, culture, aesthetic, or idealism or whatever. And that, in turn, actually helped him to become as good as he was because he was so confident in his skill and ability, and he was already strong as well. So, with the monstrification that Goketsu came and brought him with the monster cells, he was able to confront Suiryu confidently. Now, I don't want to say that the entire fight wasn't Suiryu showing off his skills, because I don't think Suiryu went full power. But he definitely tried, and he definitely put a lot of effort in. And I want to say that he struggled the majority of the fight. But he did have the upper hand, especially with when... I don't want to just discredit Suiryu in the confrontation, because he did manage to throw up the ball. But, like, it's hard to really, like, bring up feats for either of them in the fight, because it was both of their first true displays. Like, we saw what Suiryu did with Saitama. His fist was able to break the stadium, flip it up. He smacked Saitama all the way up, came back down with the, like, Suiryu can fight. And Chose matched that. Exactly matched it for an entire time period. They're flying around Goketsu amazingly. Chose isn't incompetent. You can even say that he can maneuver probably as fast, maybe a little bit slower, a little bit faster, how you want to see it, as Wicked Cockroach. You can probably say that, like, he has probably the same, like, offensive prowess as, like, Bug God or, like, Pure Blood. I don't know, man. I don't want to say it was cheap that, like, Chose lost like that, but Suiryu was S-class with that fight. That's what showed us that Suiryu really is S-class. Not only a fight with Saitama, that was impressive too. Don't get me wrong. But the Chose show was the main event basically in the super fight. Like, Suiryu's confrontation with Goketsu was completely unsatisfactory. He was getting monopolized the entire time, and it was used for a narrative point extremely effectively. That entire build-up to seeing Suiryu crying for help and then Saitama coming in to save him, but not before Snake and Lightning Max came first, that was all masterfully done. Very, very, very craftful, amazing, like, build-up of emotion and, like, showing the characters, like, change, why he's going to change and what brought the change, the catalyst. Amazing job on one's part. But he got bodied, man. Bakugan didn't put up much of a fight up against Goketsu. Bakugan was sitting there talking shit and, like, torturing Suiryu. Like, the best fight came with Saitama and then Suiryu. That was the entire build-up, too. Before that, the entire build-up was for Suiryu and Saitama. And the next part came with Chose. So, I gotta put it, bro. Chose versus Suiryu was probably the best fight in the super fight, and he's an S-class for it. So, I have no reason to give Chose high demon for that. With that being said, it's gonna be it for the video. The high demons video. If you guys have differing thoughts of me, if you guys have a different list with more choices or less choices, if you think my choices were bad, hop in the comment section below or hop in the Discord, and I'll see you boys. Yo ho!